Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
On the nation, Waldorf Nation. It's Wednesday. Welcome to the show, everybody. We are going to have a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the news. A lot of stuff that we're going to cover. Of course, a lot of it's related to Roe v. Wade. Very important discussion that we're having, including the conservative focus on the leaker. We have, of course, also Matt Gaetz outing himself once again, doing some self-owns. Those are fun. Mark Levin screaming about baby salami sandwiches or something. I don't know. You might have heard that sound clip. Very important story, actually, related to privacy. So for those who are women or transgender who may be using apps to track their cycles, or non-binary people as well, NBs, well, you might want to not use those. I'll have the details on that, at least for now, okay? So that's an important story. And then at the end, we're going to have a little bit of a pick-me-up. Last night, of course, we had a pretty bad election night. Both progressive challengers lost their respective races. Tim Ryan, unfortunately, won his race. Will be going on to take on a Republican, J.D. Vance. And then, of course, Nina Turner, unfortunately, lost the race in Ohio against Shontel Brown, the primary. So not good. Not good. I think for me, it wasn't entirely unexpected. And I say that not because there were bad candidates. It's because I know how much we are on the progressive side outgunned through media. So I know there's a lot of different analysis of what analyses or what has been, what's been going on in these primary races, and why. And I always come down to the same conclusion: media. It comes down to getting out your message. If progressives don't have media, they can't get out their message. When the airwaves are blanketed with millions of dollars of ads, well, I mean, that's gonna make a difference. How are you gonna vote for somebody that you know nothing about because you haven't seen their ads? And so that's something, again, unfortunate. But don't worry, we are going to do some good news that happened. So, and it's a follow-up on a story that I actually talked about a while back. So I think it's a good follow-up. That said, let's dive into it. By the way, before I do so, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Helps us out greatly. Dango Bango says there's a data harvesting company that's now selling personal data and location. Dango, I've got that story. I'm going to get into the details today. So don't you worry, I'm going to be talking about this. All right, that said, let's start out with the story. Let's get some leakers. We got some leakers. They're very, very concerned about the leaks. Brings me back to the Trump administration, everybody. Okay. The recently leaked draft of the SCOTUS ruling that would overturn Roe v. Wade has completely changed the political calculation. The landscape, it was a bombshell report and a leak that is going to have reverberations throughout, well, not only the midterms, but going forward. Since now we're talking about privacy and the rights of women, non-binary people, transgender, etc. Anybody who has a uterus, anyone who can get pregnant is directly affected by this. So now, of course, that does set those groups back, as well as gay, trans, women, lesbian, bisexual, interracial couples, basically anything that could be related to your right to privacy. Now, that's why Republicans are not wanting to talk about any of that. In fact, they want to completely ignore that part of it and want to focus on the fact that it was leaked, not what was actually in the leaks. So now I'm going to show you some videos here. We're going to start out with Mitch McConnell. This is Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who basically set the stage on Tuesday for the Republican response. Take a look.
You need, it seems to me, excuse the lecture, to concentrate on what the news is today. Not a leaked draft, but the fact that the draft was leaked.
No, just ignore the fact that this leak, this draft, basically spells the end of 50 years of reproductive rights in this country, supported by 70% of Americans, even large majority of Republicans supported, but and not only that, the fact that it's a complete abandonment of judicial precedent, and the fact that it might make us really look bad during the midterms. Now let's focus on the real problem, the leaks. Lots of leaks. Yes, let's worry on the leaker. Amazing. All right, so now, he also said this in a statement. By every indication, this was yet another escalation. And the radical left, somehow it's the left's fault, of their ongoing campaign to bully and intimidate federal judges and substitute mob rule for the rule of law. Mob rule, everybody, from the party that brought you January 6th. Now they're worried about mob rule. Great. Fun. Now, what this essentially means is Republicans are mad because, hey, only the conservative Supreme Court is supposed to have privacy. Not you guys, not regular people. What about our privacy? And of course, it brings me back to the, I guess, hypocrisy, not just in the Supreme Court, but also Congress as well, that is, flipped out every time it's their privacy that gets violated. But when it comes to regular people's, American citizens' privacy, especially the privacy now to go and get reproductive care, well, they don't care about that. Oh, no, we can get rid of that privacy because we don't really care about your privacy. Okay, anyway. So now, I'm going to give you some more statements here from different Republicans. Let's start with Lindsey Graham. He said, "It is a sad day for the Supreme Court and a dangerous day for the rule of law. The radical left is hell-bent on reshaping institutions that have stood in the way of the outcomes they desire." Reshaping institutions, right? Hey, okay, I'm guessing that he's referring to the call from progressives to stack the Supreme Court. Okay, look, now here's the thing about that. There's nothing in the Constitution that spells out that you have to have 9 Supreme Court justices. That's not in the Constitution. So you could take Alito's argument and say, okay, well, hey, look, if the Constitution does not spell out a specific right to an abortion, well, the Constitution also does not spell out the fact that, you can expand the court anytime that you want. It doesn't say that you can't. So why don't we? So ironically, they're kind of making our case for us for expanding the Supreme Court. And I honestly think that that's exactly what we have to do. It's exactly what we have to do. Now, whether or not the Democrats, who are so focused on decorum and so focused on, but do we respect institutions? I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I wouldn't bet on it, but you never know. Now, there's more. So the takes are going to get more unhinged. Now, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to tell you that this was a tweet from Harmeet K. Dillon. Who is this person? Apparently, she was on former President Donald Trump's legal team, who had challenged the election results. Here's what she said in a tweet. This act of leaking an important opinion is terrorism against the court and against our nation. It is far more destructive than any suicide bomber would be. Yeah, she just said the leaking of this draft is worse than a suicide bomber. Oh, this leaked draft, worse than 9/11. That's essentially what she is saying. That's insane. That's lunacy. She continues by saying, these people behind this vile act are attacking the very foundation of the U.S. We must not let the terrorists win. Dude, she was defending Trump, who was attacking the very foundation of the United States election by challenging the peaceful transfer of power by spreading election conspiracy theories. What? No, this is ridiculous. Now, she also had called on the Supreme Court, interestingly enough, to, quote, step in and do something so that Trump would illegally remain president of the United States. That's a coup. That's a coup. But no, according to this person, this is terrorism. This is reproductive rights. And the leaking of a draft that shows how the Supreme Court plans to gut reproductive rights, that's the real terrorism. Telling the American people what the court plans to do early, that is terrorism. Oh no, there's more. There's more. I've put together a cringe compilation of different Republicans from Governor Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz to Jenna Ellis. I want to show you that here in all of its horrible glory.
A betrayal of the Supreme Court.
Is this a crime? To me, it's clearly unethical. And if it was a lawyer, they should be disbarred immediately.
Right. This is all about Democrats just want America the way they want it, and they don't care who they have to hurt and punish in the way. And
this is as corrosive, as destructive to the Supreme Court as we've ever seen.
It could be obstructing the administration of justice, the due process of justice.
And I hope whoever is responsible for this not only is fired instantly, but is prosecuted and serves real jail time for violating the confidences of the Supreme Court.
This isn't just an act of civil disobedience. This is an actual insurrection. We want to talk about January 6th. That's completely different. This is something that is actually trying on purpose to undermine the rule of law.
I know they launched an investigation. They need to figure out who did that, and they need to hold them accountable, because that's a real significant breach of trust. You want to talk about an insurrection, that's a judicial insurrection.
Judicial insurrection, everybody. January 6th, the insurrection, not an actual insurrection, leaking a document that was going to be released in a couple of months. By the way, it was already been circulating since February, leaking that up to the public. The public knows what the court's actually going to do before they do it. Well, that's terrorism. That is terrorism. That is an insurrection. Insane. These people are nuts. Just bizarre. I love how performatively angry they get. Oh my God, the leaker, it's the leaker, it's the leaker. How dare they? How dare they assault our institutions? But you guys attack our institutions daily. Republicans do. Again, in some cases, literally, with January 6th, which of course you saw that they downplayed and they tried to compare to the violence at the Capitol. And they've also come after education. They've attacked that institution. They've attacked our electoral processes. They've attacked democracy itself. So these people need to shut the fuck up. And by the way, this does destroy 50 years of precedent in two different cases, Roe and Casey. In both cases, conservative justices affirmed the right to privacy. But now Republicans don't care about that right. Now that's the real story. I don't care who leaked it. I don't care why. I don't think that's the story. Okay? I think the story is losing bodily autonomy. That's the real story here. And so this is classic Republican deflection. Whether or not they want to take the focus off of, this is going to probably make us look really bad when it comes to the midterms, because most of the Americans do not actually support this. This is going to ramp up Democrats and their message, or seemingly help them in the midterms. Or there's the other theory, going around where it's, it's the Republicans that actually leaked it. And it's because they wanted to enshrine this in the law. I don't care about any of that. I don't care what the leaks come from. I don't care who did it. I really don't even care about the motivation. What I care about is what's actually in it. And I think that's the worst part of all. That's the scariest thing. Because now you have the government intruding into people's personal lives and personal decisions. And so, if you want to sit there and call it terrorism and deflect from January 6th and do all that stuff, well, that's up to you. I'm going to focus on the real story, who this is going to hurt. And it's going to hurt a lot of people. So, all right. Oh, we're not done with the leaker yet, though. I saved the stupidest for last. Judge Janine. Fox co-host Janine Pirro really wants that SCOTUS leaker charged with something, anything, but with what? Who knows?
What about the rights of the tens of millions of unborn babies?
I'm sorry, that's the wrong video for some reason. Let me go back and fix that.
What about the rights of the
That's very strange. We've got insanity in the control room, everybody. All right, let me get that right video here and then fix the rest.
Whoever leaked this, we have to find out who the person is and charge them with a crime. I don't know what the crime would be, whether it's some kind of fraud on government property. I've heard there's a statute, fraud on the government, that's very broad that could include this kind of act.
So, wait a minute. She's literally like trying to figure out a way to like, you gotta charge him with something. I heard there's a statute somewhere. No, there's not. There's no statute there. In fact, legal experts have already weighed in. And a lot of them are saying that the leak of a draft opinion is not a crime. It's not illegal. The Department of Justice will be very unlikely to charge anyone with a crime, which means, of course, the new narrative is, why isn't the Justice Department doing something about the leaker? It must be because it's Joe Biden. Oh, come on. Liberal Department of Justice. Not even going after this leaker for not doing a real crime. All right. Now, I'm going to give you a quote here. This is Trevor Timm, a First Amendment-focused lawyer and executive director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation. Here's what he said about this. Right now, it's unclear whether the leaker broke any law at all. Okay? Even the people claiming this act is beyond the pale, which is an opinion, that's fine. You could say, oh, this is deeply unprofessional. Okay, I don't care. But sure. Even the people claiming this act is beyond the pale and the FBI must investigate haven't pointed to a definitive law this leaker allegedly broke. The only thing maybe is if they stole this from a computer, from like a government computer. Even then, you have draft opinions that are not considered to be classified. In fact, here's University of Texas Law School professor Stephen I. Vladek adding later, quote, unless the draft was obtained through means that were themselves unlawful, I'm having a really hard time seeing what crime was committed in leaking it to the press. Well, the crime is letting the people know what Republicans plan on doing and how they are going to obliterate reproductive rights. Now they add, this doesn't mean there won't be or can't be an investigation. It's the new Benghazi. But I'd really be really surprised if it ended up with any kind of criminal charge. Another person, this is Bradley P. Moss of the it's a national security and whistleblower lawyer, saying I'm extremely skeptical of what basis or what authority the Justice Department would have to inquire into this matter. It is certainly a fireable offense, without question, but there is no obvious criminal provision that would apply. Again, Benghazi! That's what it is. It's a Republican witch hunt. Okay? It's performative. Understand the Republican response. And really, the response is also meant to distract people from the content of the draft, which relies on destroying 50 years of judicial precedent on the issue of privacy. Alito's opinion noted that the Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. So if it is not spelled out explicitly, according to Alito, well, then it's not a right, and according to apparently 5 justices. So, and by the way, this is not going to just affect abortion. It's going to ripple out to different things that are based on the Roe ruling, like same-sex marriage, for example, interracial marriage, even sodomy laws, Lawrence v. Texas. And so they want to control what kind of sex you have in your home, what you do in your personal life, your personal decisions. That's what they want to do. Right now they're saying, oh, no, we're not going to go beyond that. Oh, really? You're not going to go beyond that? Why should we trust you at all? Especially when every single time, every single justice on the stand, when they were doing their job interview for the Supreme Court, said, oh, no, we're not going to touch Roe v. Wade. Kavanaugh, Gorsuch lied about it. Oh, we respect precedent. We care so much. We care so much about the institutions and the decisions that have come before us. Well, no, they don't care at all. They don't care at all. No. And remember, on that other point as well, they're going to come after you because conservatives had already tried to ban sex toys and oral sex. Ted Cruz tried to ban dildos. You remember that? Ken Cuccinelli tried to have oral sex banned in Virginia. These are not people that were back in the day. These are people that are still very relevant in today's politics. And what this is, by the way, you want to complain about big government. This is big government. This is the biggest government. The biggest government you can imagine. Going right up your privacy, right where you don't want it. I mean, come on. Again, they're telling you what kind of sex you can have, with whom, or they're going to, right? And right now they're telling you that you do not have, if you're a woman, if you're a birthing person, non-binary, transgender, if you have a uterus, they are telling you that you no longer have control of that. That's what they're saying. So that's the future that the far right is going for. Now, most people Most Americans, and I'll include Republicans in this, don't actually want that. Even conservative voters support keeping the institution of Roe v. Wade. Now, again, opinion is sort of mixed and like, oh, maybe we should add a couple more restrictions or take away a couple of restrictions or maybe just keep it the same. But generally, the vast majority of the American people, including Republicans, support Roe v. Wade. They do not support what is going on right now. And so that's probably why they're talking about the leaks. And also, they want to distract from January 6th, where you had actual crime, where people have gotten arrested, where people have been charged and sentenced. Jeanine Pirro is a clown. But she is echoing the rest of the party on this. And look, one thing that I know about propaganda, and this is what they're doing, this is what you're hearing over and over again on Fox News. The more you repeat something, the leaker has to be punished. The leaker did a crime. He did a crime. He did a crime. Or she. I don't know who it is. They. There was a crime here. There's a crime here. Really, really bad. It's such a crime. Well, then, eventually, there will be a sizable chunk of Republican voters that'll be like, yeah, get him, get the crime. Don't let them control the narrative by focusing on the leaker. The leaker is not the issue. No, it's Republicans. Talk about how Republicans are trying to take your rights away. That is the real issue. Focus on that issue. Okay. Speaking of sex lives, we didn't want to know about. Go to Matt Gaetz. Yay. But this is it's kind of a funny Matt Gaetz story here. So let's do that. Sorry. Let me change that. Better. Representative Matt Gaetz can't seem to stop telling on himself. The alleged sex trafficking Florida Republican recently responded to the leaked draft on Roe v. Wade being overturned by attacking what he calls overeducated women. I don't know what that is, but here is the tweet. How many of the women rallying against overturning Roe are overeducated, underloved millennials who sadly returned from protests to a lonely microwave dinner with their cats and no Bumble matches? Actually, that sounds kind of cool. Especially, because who wants to, not do that if you're dealing with somebody with Matt Gaetz? The same. But educated women with their cats and their microwave dinner. Got them. Really? Does that now? Again, if you look at the logic here, there's no logic. But let's try to follow it anyway. Okay. So wait, so the women who can't get dates or have sex are the ones that are defending the right to get an abortion, even though they can't get dates or have sex, which means they can't get pregnant. And so why would then they be fighting for access to abortion if they didn't actually need abortion? I don't quite understand what point is he trying to make? It doesn't make any sense. Matt Gaetz, idiot, moron, dumbass. He should have kept that one in the drafts. Not only makes no sense, but also a bit of a self-own. Okay? Because, again, he wants to talk about overeducated women, right? Well, it's because women that he considers to be overeducated won't date him. I mean, the only reason women won't fuck me is because they had too much education. Oh, really? That explains why Matt Gaetz loves 17-year-olds. Got to make sure they're not overeducated, past high school. And by the way, knowing how public schools in Florida, thanks to Republicans, right? They're actually making sure that young people do not get a quality education because, well, they love the poorly educated. Again, if the public is not well educated, then that makes them easier to control, easier to dupe, and more likely to become a Republican voter. Now, look, this goes hand in hand with the assault on public education, which they have been engaging in for quite some time, but has really ramped up lately. Okay? Look, they've been using the boogeyman on critical race theory, right? Oh, it's critical race theory, critical race theory. Oh, they're teaching kids racism in schools. Oh, we don't like it. We don't like that. Not that the fact that racism exists. No, we love the fact that racism exists, but we just don't like it that you're teaching about it and teaching kids not to be racist. But you also have social emotional learning, which people on the right have said softens children. It makes them too soft. Makes them too soft. They actually start caring about the people around them. Ugh, we don't want that. No, we don't want that. And so, but what they've done is they've scared conservative parents. And of course, this also goes hand in hand with the rumor smear, right? For LGBTQ educators and people who defend LGBTQ students. That has scared conservative parents who watch Fox News into pulling your kids out of public schools. All right, well, good for them, right? But no, it just hasn't ended there. No, now they're trying to literally end public schools, getting them, the voters, to vote for politicians that are promising to completely dismantle openly public education. In fact, I've shown you some videos here of Republicans openly admitting it, that yes, they want to get rid of public education. In fact, here's that.
So maybe a great time in our country's history where we rethink whether or not we have public schools. Maybe we should not have the government involved in education at all.
There is a war that is being waged in which they want your children. They want your kids. They want your kids. They want your kids. You have to wage war against that. And if it means that your kids have no schooling whatsoever, they will be better off. I can't even begin to tell you the damage that happens to children in school. And if you don't believe me, it's because you've been schooled, not educated.
They want your kids. They want your kids. They want your kids. Are you talking about Matt Gaetz? No, seriously, though. Look, they want to get rid of public schools, and they want to get rid of abortion. They're going to come for contraception. They're going to come for same-sex marriage. They're going to come, obviously, they've been coming for welfare programs for some time. What's next? What's next? Outlawing divorce? Unless, of course, the man wants it. We're going to turn into the Western Saudi Arabia. I mean, again, they want women barefoot, pregnant, and ignorant. Why? Because it's easier to control them. That's it. It's all about control. Look, and by the way, Trump was unintentionally correct when he admitted that Republicans, that he specifically loves the poorly educated. They do. And they're going to make sure that every poor person, every woman, every person of color stays ignorant and in poverty with no way up the ladder. Unless you're wealthy, unless you're an elite, because wealthy people, they can get educated. The ones who are already rich, they can get educated. They can fly out somewhere else to get an abortion. They can do all of these things. But for poor people, they want to make them into the new serfs. They are taking the United States into the 1500s. It's going to be modern day serfdom. And so that's what happens when Republicans take power and exercise power. And even when they're in the minority, they still exercise power somehow. We got to stop them. Okay. Interracial marriage too. I mentioned that. Segregation, definitely possible. But that's, of course, well, okay, I was talking about thinking school segregation, but yeah, there is also other forms of segregation. Yikes. Uneducated people continue to vote against their best interests. One, because conservative media wins the messaging war. And two, Democrats are feckless and won't actually pass things to help regular people and also suck at messaging. So there's a lot of different things. All right. Moving on, let's go to Mark Levin. Mark Levin is a total nut job. I think we can all agree on that one. And so, look, no surprise that he recently went on Hannity to scream about sandwiches and babies. Take a look.
There is no federal constitutional right to abortion, period. They amended the Constitution without amending the Constitution, period. And so now what are they trying to do? Now they're trying to tell us that science isn't science. The same people want to mandate masks and vaccines. Is that a baby in the womb? Is that a viable baby in the womb? At the very last minute, yes. It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb. And we have states and governors that say you can abort that baby, even though it's viable. It's not a choice. It's a human being. So to the Democrat Party, women aren't women. Babies aren't babies. This is insanity.
Babies are babies. Salami sandwiches aren't people. I am a very normal human being that screams at the camera. Wow. Okay. Now, look, let's get to the substance on this. Just insanity. He's right, but there's insanity here. Oh, all right. But I'm going to point out that it's actually him who's the insane person. All right. So now, first of all, he says, well, the Constitution says that you have no explicit right to abortion. Well, that's what Alito's argument is. Okay. So now Roe was decided on the idea of privacy. In the 7-2 ruling, the court at the time, this was in the 1970s, drew on the 1st, 4th, 9th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, saying that the Constitution will protect someone's zone of privacy or zones of privacy. They cited cases in which it was ruled that contraception, marriage, and child rearing were activities included in these zones, and found that the zones were broad enough to encompass a woman's decision whether or not to terminate her pregnancy. So this is all about privacy. Now, they also found that any limitations on abortion have to meet standards of strict scrutiny. That meant that there must have been compelling state interest in regulating abortion. So there's walking the line between the state having power to do regulation versus a person's individual freedom and privacy. So Republicans on this issue, they're anti-privacy and pro-big government. And so complete opposite of what they claim to be and claim to care about, freedom. Now, those state interests, those compelling state interests, were protecting the mother's health and protecting the potentiality of human life. So now, this is why the court created something called the trimester framework. In that trimester framework, going back to Mark Levin's insane rant, well, this is where he's proven to be a clown. So he says, it's a viable baby in the womb, and the states have governors that say that you can abort a baby even though it's viable. No, that's actually not allowed by Roe. What Roe established is the viability, right? It's now, once viability is established under Roe v. Wade, Roe allows for the state to then ban abortions so that you can protect the potentiality of human life. That's it. Now, viability, of course, is apparently a hot topic, but this is what science says. Most experts say that the point of viability is about 24 weeks. In Casey, the court ruled that under the 14th Amendment, the mother had a constitutional right to an abortion, and that this right could not be unduly interfered with by the state prior to 24 weeks, prior to viability. That is known as the undue burden test. So, Short answer, when it's viable, under Roe, you were never able to do an abortion unless, of course, there was the life of the mother that was in danger, or rape and incest. And so, look, when there's a viable baby, you can't do an abortion. And there's no such thing as abortion after the point of birth. That's just murder, and that's not allowed either. And so, and again, the reason I bring that up is because there are people that are out there spreading that narrative that, oh, Democrats are just murdering people. They're just murdering children as soon as they get out of the womb. That's insane. Absolute insanity. Look, if the fetus is already deceased or not viable, or it will kill the mother, then yes, the right of that person who is giving birth is protected by the Constitution. That's Roe. That set up that framework. The thing that you were talking about, viability, that's literally in Roe, which you support overturning. His logic makes absolutely no sense. And that's why he has to scream. That's why he's constantly screaming. I've almost never heard Mark Levin talk like a normal person. He just doesn't. He's incapable of talking like a normal person. And again, I have more facts. About 1% of abortions happen at 21 weeks or later for reasons that usually involve the health of the mother, or more importantly, barriers that were set up by Republicans that prevent people from getting abortions earlier. Now, all of those laws, as we've pointed out over the years, they were always trying to push women past the point of viability so that the state can kick in and legally regulate it. That's it. Now, for them, of course, all of that stuff that they've been using big government and, ironically, regulation to try to chip away at abortion access, well, that hadn't been working fast enough. And so now, they're just like, you know what? Now we have the Supreme Court, we're just going to get rid of it. Gone. And so they're using the worst lies and the worst smears that you could imagine. No, Mark Levin's a clown. Nobody should listen to that guy because he's absolutely wrong, and then basically screams at you to get you to agree to him, agree with him. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Not normal. Not normal. All right.
We'll move on. It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
Okay. Anyway. Moving on. All right. It appears that your personal data might be being sold to data brokers, It appears that your personal data might be being sold to data brokers, or I keep getting that wrong. Hold on. I don't think anybody should be surprised that your data is being sold. Your data is being sold by data brokers to third parties, things like Facebook, Google, etc. Now, it's actually getting worse now because here you have an imminent decision to scrap Roe v. Wade. Now, this data that is being sold by specific data brokers, well, it has data that can impact anyone who has gotten an abortion. So now Vice had a report on Tuesday that a location data firm called SafeGraff was selling information related to visits to clinics that provide abortions, including Planned Parenthood. The data shows where groups of people visiting locations came from and how long they stayed there and where they then went afterwards. This is according to sets of data purchased by Motherboard. Vice had also purchased a week's worth of location data for more than 600 Planned Parenthood locations across the United States for just over $160. So basically, you can buy tracking data for people who have been to a Planned Parenthood or basically any place. Now, it's not just news outlets that are buying this information. It's not just social media outlets buying this information, but it also can be governments that are buying this information. And so that's going to tie in to now the imminent scrapping of Roe v. Wade. Now, there's an amazing Twitter thread by Elizabeth McLaughlin that really kind of spells out this danger. Now, here's what she writes. She says, if you are using an online period tracker or tracking your menstrual cycles through your phone, get off of it and delete your data now. If you think that your data showing when you last menstruated isn't of interest to those who are about to outlaw abortion, do I have a wake-up call for you? Combine this with location tracking information, when you last menstruated, and where you are seeking health care, and you have a target on your back. She then goes on to cite a New York Times article from last year. Doesn't have anything to do with really abortion, but this article talks about, this app or these apps that will show the time of the month, when that had happened, how long it lasts, and how that data is being collected and sold to different social media companies. One such company, Flow, who collected this data, had promised not to share it. Oh no, we're not going to share that data. Now that, of course, ended up not being true. From 2016 to 2019, the company behind Flow passed certain intimate health details of its users on to marketing and analytics companies such as Facebook and Google, according to the FTC. The agency said that Flow's data sharing practices had allowed third-party companies to use personal health information expansively, including for advertising. Now, again, we know that this is happening. We know that they've been using our data. They've been selling our data for years now. Now, of course, it's been revealed that it's actually a little bit worse than that. For example, data on migrants, for example, coming into the country, immigrants being sold to Border Protection, DHS, or I should say not sold, but given to these organizations that will then go in and crack down on migrants. So that's been used for a while for that purpose. Now, it appears to be likely, very possible, to use this against women who will cross state lines from states that have outlawed abortion to states that continue to allow abortion. So now, consumer health apps, by the way, and I know a lot of you have noticed or noted that, hey, why does this not break HIPAA laws? Why do we not have privacy on this that is protected? Well, now, HIPAA specifically covers patient data collected by and shared among doctors, hospitals, and labs, as well as health insurers. Now, these consumer health apps are not required by law to comply with HIPAA. Can't happen. In other words, if you enter data into these consumer apps, if you have it track your cycle, even apps that you have to pay for, well, those are not protected by HIPAA laws, federal safeguards, or any sort of patient privacy. And this is not the only company that has gotten in trouble for sharing this data. In 2019, Privacy International, a nonprofit group in Britain, studied a number of different popular period tracking apps and reported that 2 of them had transmitted sensitive information such as details on users' symptoms and contraceptive use to Facebook and other companies. So, yeah, that's the companies. Now, what is to prevent these companies from reporting this, for example, to the Texas government, which now has, of course, a very draconian abortion ban that has gotten past Roe v. Wade before by relying on people to report these things to the government. So now if you have a bunch of people reporting these apps to the government in Texas, will this I mean, if the company is located in one of these states, will they have to turn over that data? See, these are very important questions. So now the company SafeGraff, also, who has been sharing this data, has investors like right-wing tech bro Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel just gave, what, $15 million, I think, to J.D. Vance, who just won his election. Now Donald Trump is, well, trying to get some of that Peter Thiel money. But not just Thiel. You also have a former head of Saudi Arabia's intelligence agency. Saudi Arabia, that very large bastion of women's rights and freedoms. Another investor, Orrin Hoffman, had run a company, LiveRamp, that worked with data firm Cambridge Analytica back in 2016. So, yeah, you have a lot of people, a lot of Silicon Valley people who are taking your data and selling it, which could end up, again, in the hands of state governments that are trying to ban abortion or that have banned abortion already. And so that's pretty dangerous, especially now in this age where we no longer will have Roe v. Wade, when it has not been codified into law and will be overturned. Now, that said, to be fair, let's go to SafeGraff, who says that that they have stopped selling this information on visits to abortion clinics. Oh, the company says that the patterns of data of the kind purchased by Vice, which shows how groups of people interact with a given location, is anonymized to protect the privacy of individual visitors. Sure. Now that, of course, not good enough. According to a study published in Nature about privacy, researchers noted that while a simply anonymized data set does not contain names, home addresses, phone numbers, or any sort of obvious identifiers, if individuals' patterns are unique enough, outside information can be used to link data back to an individual. So even these anonymized data sets that were being sold could still be used by people very, very determined. And we know anti-abortion activists are very determined. These are the people that show up and protest outside of Planned Parenthoods. They do sting videos, that allege the sale of body parts. Again, not true. Absolute bullshit. And then, of course, they also, in some cases, do violence against people running abortion clinics. So, now look, this unique data, well, look, generally, people don't get abortions very often. At least the same person doesn't, right? So this unique data, these identifiers, could identify people coming in from Texas or other anti-choice states to go into another state, a blue state, to get reproductive care. That's enough of a unique identifier for people to go, oh, we might be able to unmask these people. In fact, Zach Edwards, cybersecurity researcher, told Vice, quote, "It's bonkers dangerous to have abortion clinics and then let someone buy the census tracts where people are coming from to visit that abortion clinic." He says, this is how you dox someone traveling across state lines for abortions, how you dox clinics providing this service. Now, I think that's very relevant because this is what's going to happen on a much larger scale when you have Roe getting overturned. Edwards also said that SafeGraff is going to be the weapon of choice for anti-choice radicals attempting to target out-of-state clinics providing medical care. Missouri is also considering a law to make it illegal to aid or abet abortions in other states. So Missouri, if they pass that law, they're going to be very interested in that data, for an abortion clinic that happens to be across their border. They'd love to get their hands on it. They'd love to sit there and track so they can know who to go after. And look, this is not something that is far-fetched. This is data that has already been used. In a 2018 investigation, the New York Times took location data and followed multiple people inside it and even unmasked some of those people. One of them visited a Planned Parenthood facility. according to the report. And by the way, bad actors also got this data. A Christian-focused outlet, or similar data, I should say, The Pillar had published a piece that used location data to track the movements of a specific priest and then outed him publicly as potentially gay. So we're going to use your location data and we're going to forcefully make you come out. Of course, again, coming out is something that is a personal decision. And if you are forced out, especially being part of the Christian church, what do you think that's going to entail? What do you think is going to happen to this person? Not good things. And so this is another example of this data being used maliciously. This is very dangerous stuff. Now, look, again, I've been worried about privacy for some time. Now this is even worse. The Supreme Court is ready to gut privacy for not just women, but trans people, non-binary, etc., anyone with a uterus. And they're not going to stop at abortion. They're going to come after people using contraception, buying contraception, obviously being gay, being LGBTQ, or who knows, maybe they'll even expand it to dating someone of a different race, going to neighborhoods. Oh, I was tracking this person through this app, and they were in a neighborhood that they didn't belong in. Nah, they were in the black neighborhood. What are they doing there? Look, this is what happens when you allow big tech, right, to partner with conservatives who love big government. When you destroy privacy with the help of these big corporations, that ends up leading to pretty bad things. Anybody who's ever uttered the phrase big tech should be outraged by this. I am. But here's the thing. People like Tim Pool, Glenn Greenwald, Steven Crowder, I'm going to bet that they're not going to report on this story. Why? Because, well, they want the government to track people who might be breaking their laws to get reproductive care. They're okay with this. Because again, they're not about being against big tech, and they're not in favor of privacy. They're not not really in favor of, being pro-life. No, the only thing they want to do is they want to protect their power, their privacy, while destroying your privacy and take away your bodily autonomy. At the end of the day, it always comes back to control. So, yikes. All right. Last story. In what has already been a horrible news week filled with all sorts of fresh hell stories, we do have some good news, at least from Michigan. Now, last month I had talked about a candidate named Robert Regan. Robert Regan is a Trump supporter running for office, or who was running for office in Michigan's 74th district. Robert Regan has lost his election. Yes. Now, the Detroit Free Press reports that Regan, who had also been pushing to decertify the results of the 2020 election, so, in favor of the big lie, had lost his race to Carol Glanville, a Democrat, by about 1,500 votes. So now 1,500 votes doesn't sound like a lot, and that's because there wasn't a lot of votes in this election. In fact, only about 14,102 votes had been cast in this election. It's actually very, very small, abysmal turnout. And by the way, the district they were running in was a solidly red district. And that's what makes this very interesting. You had low turnout in a very solid Trump supporting district. In fact, this went for Trump in 2020 by 16 points. This election actually marks the first time that a Democrat will be representing this district in the Michigan State Capitol. Holy crap. So now, what happened? Why such low turnout? Why did more people vote for a Democrat? Well, it turns out Republicans may have actually found a line that they didn't want to cross. Earlier this year, Regan came under heavy criticism after he made an analogy involving rape. Of course, it's always a rape analogy that they do. Always. In fact, I showed you the video a while ago. Basically, it was a conversation with Adam D'Angeli of the Michigan Rescue Coalition. This is a group of Republicans that want to overturn the election, right? Now, Regan said that he didn't believe that it was inevitable the 2020 election would not be overturned, despite the fact that there was no evidence of voter fraud that had been held up in court. So no evidence because they don't have any evidence because there's no mass voter fraud. It was in that context of the conversation, though, that he said this, quote, "Having 3 daughters, I tell my daughters, if rape is inevitable, you should just lay back and enjoy it." I'm guessing this man did not ever win Father of the Year. He does not have world's best dad mug. No, he's the rape dad. Wow. Now, that's pretty fucked up. And look, this is not the first time that he had ran. 2 years ago, one of Regan's daughters had discouraged people from supporting her father during that campaign. Here's what she wrote on Twitter 2 years ago. If you're in Michigan and 18 plus, please, for the love of God, do not vote for my dad. Tell everyone. Hey, you know what? They followed your advice. Not just once, but twice. Apparently, hey, at least there's a line that some Republicans didn't want to cross. Nonetheless, the guy still got 5,697 votes. But thankfully, even with that, that's still way too many votes. But thankfully, he did not win. So at least, there's some good news there. But not for Regan. Because, hey, you lost. Sad day. I guess now you can just lay back and enjoy your loss. Sad. Baby. Okay. There you go. Palate cleanser. Because he's a good Christian family man. That's right. All right, so let's see. Let's go here to read some super chats here before I head out the door. Okay, so let's start here. Dango Bango says there's a data harvesting company. I just mentioned that. Alito's argument to tear down Roe v. Wade can indeed and rightfully should be used to defend the right for clerks to leak. Interesting. This is indeed a right-wing op. A conservative clerk jumped the gun. Now right-wingers are capitalizing this to attack whistleblowers. Again, I don't know for sure. I do know that there is a theory, interesting theory. And by the way, interesting theories on both sides. Let's just say that. That this was a way to enshrine the decision, to lock the 5 conservative justices, the majority, into this position. Okay, that's interesting. Also, other theories that are like, no, this is to gin up, excitement in the midterms because, women are under attack. They were going to be under attack when it was released later, but this at least gets it out. Then there are other theories about, but it gets out too soon, and that people really generally do have a very short attention span, and there will be the next thing. Again, I don't know for sure. So I'm not going to say that, I believe in any of these theories. And again, I don't really care as much. I just care about what's actually in this. All right. Buck v. Bell is also going to be gone too. I cannot stress a court case that give all disabled people the right to live and have children. That's also terrible. Dystopian Dragon says, maybe unethical, but not criminal. True of the leaking. Dodamato says, Nina Turner's concession speech is the only thing keeping my head above water right now. Hope is hard work. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, I mean, I watched that, and it made me think, she's going to do something for 2024. I don't know what it is. She's going to do something, though. This is not the last we've seen of Nina Turner. That said, I really do want to mention how she got abandoned by the squad. No bones about it. The squad abandoned her. They left her out in the field by herself. AOC came in the last 5 minutes. Not good enough. AOC should have been there from the beginning. Where was Cori Bush? Where was Jamal Bowman? Where was Ilhan Omar? Where was Rashida Tlaib? Where were any of the squad members? I mean, behind the scenes, Cori Bush was like, well, no, I actually don't agree with our endorsement of Chantel Brown. Okay, but you didn't come out publicly. You didn't come out and endorse her. You didn't come out and support her. Now, look, I understand that there's pressure inside of DC, but like, if you constantly bow to the pressure when it comes to the establishment attacking allies that did have a chance, well, it doesn't make you look very good. It makes you look real bad. Especially it makes people not want to support you in your re-election campaigns. So, I mean, squad, not very impressed with them at all. Not at all. AOC endorsed the day before the election. I know, literally last minute. By the way, endorsing in the last day before the election, you realize that a lot of votes have already been cast. And by the way, a lot of ads have already been put out. So, I mean, again, very, very disappointing. Very weak. And super, I would say, cowardly. You're not fighting, and you're not fighting for people that are on your side. Because Nancy Pelosi's not on your side. Nancy Pelosi's out there campaigning for an anti-choice conservative Democrat who, by the way, was raided by the FBI. Are you kidding me? Against a progressive, Jessica Cisneros, who is pro-choice. No, he's anti-abortion. Oh, but that's... and by the way, Jim Clyburn, same thing. Out there supporting an anti-choice conservative Democrat. So... and by the way, Nancy Pelosi has said a lot of different things about Roe v. Wade as well, saying, oh, well, you don't have to be pro-choice to be a Democrat. And we really, we want a strong Republican Party. Ridiculous. Nina Turner helped end Roe v. Wade. Citation needed, please. Citations needed. I don't believe that at all. All right, so JD Vance. It's JD Vance had won, actually. Oh God, I got a circular in the mail today warning me of Stacey Abrams' far left California agenda. The California agenda. Does that mean taco trucks in every corner? Because that would be awesome. I would love it. So tired of chasing the right wing over the cliff in search of the mythical crossover vote. Agreed. Look, electoral politics is trash. It really is trash. And the only reason to vote is to stave off the most extreme Republican, candidates. That's basically it. You're not gonna change anything with your vote. You're not gonna get change voting in the system. I'm not saying don't vote. No, don't be an idiot. Vote tactically. You don't have to believe in someone. You don't even have to like someone to vote for them. It's checking a box. It's easy. It takes like 5 minutes. So, do that. But other than that, don't give any money to Democrats. Don't fund them. No, don't agree with their, or don't fall for their fundraising scams, because that's what it is. They get all their money from big corporate donors anyway. No, just, if you're going to vote, and you should, vote to keep Republicans from taking over. And that's about it. Otherwise, work outside of the system, build a labor movement, work in your community, do local stuff, do activism. And I don't mean getting on Twitter. Electoral politics is not going to save you. And so you start at the local level. That's all I can say. Terrible turnout in Ohio. Yeah, well, again, that's really the problem. So many people are turned off. And I understand why. Vote to keep out right-wingers out. Yeah, that's basically it. And again, thankfully, for a lot of people, it's pretty easy to, do that. Bernie warned people, vote Hillary, Roe v. Wade is gone. Guy was clairvoyant. Not just clairvoyant. I think everybody could see that. I mean, again, I saw that. I live in a swing state. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll hold my nose, and I did. And that's what I did. And I don't regret it at all, because it's called being tactical. That's it. 2020 was the highest voter participation rate in decades, and it was still less than 65%. That's sad. But again, one thing that would actually increase that is if the politicians actually did stuff for the voters. Just like do something for your voters. That's it. That's what you have to do. But unfortunately, they don't do that because, well, that's not gonna sit well with the donors. Will I have another co-host? When? Grumpy Cat. Because I don't know when. But I do have some exciting news for tomorrow. So I'll keep that to tomorrow. Which, it should be fun. 80% of Americans are for women's rights, but the donors and the adoption agencies are more important. I don't think it's the adoption agencies. I think it's red meat. That's what it is. Reach out to Nkano. Okay. He'll be a great co-host. Okay. Why not tell us no? Because I don't want to give it away too early. Besides, I gotta go. All right, everybody. Oh, Twitch. Halo Shepherd, thank you for the follow. Yvonne Trey, thank you for resubbing for a month of tier 1. That was yesterday. I should have John on. The problem with John is that he's so busy. Like, I would love to have John join the show again. But again, John is probably the most hardest working person that I've ever met before. Okay. The guy's not going to have time. And again, I'd love to have him on, but the guy does not have time. But I might go on the damage report again. So, how about David Dole? Same thing. The guy's a dad. I've reached out to him before, and we can just never sync our times up. You know what I'm saying? David is just like constantly busy. He's got a new kid, 1-year-old now. Holy crap. And just constantly busy. So again, it is really difficult to cross-pollinate with a lot of people who are just have so much on their plate. So, but me, I'm free. I'm always free. I liked your energy with John. I did too. Well, that's because John and I are both dorks. So, all right. No, I'm serious. I gotta go. Thank you all. Really, really appreciate it. Like and share the stream if you haven't already. We'll see you all tomorrow here, 4 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully we'll have, you know, a little less insanity in the control room. And we'll have a good show. All right. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Big, massive dumps.
I like my knee tight. Tighten up my knee.
Wet ass keyword.
Beta, beta.
Sexual anarchy.
It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
Testicle tan.
Tallywhacker.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.